Hi, I'm still in my dressing gown because it's still a bit cold in the church where I'm reading, and we're up to chapter -6, The Princess of the Magic Sea Dragons. Told you and Jack's Matrix. My turn? Asked Toll, looking at Jack's. Certainly, said Jack's, handing Toll the manuscript with a grin. Hold on, said Magal. It's very late. Bedtime? No, came the resounding roar. Magal grinned. Fine by me, he said. Onwards and upwards, young Toldew. Toll rustled the pages to find his spot and then looked at everyone. Enjoying it? He asked. Yes, shouted everyone. Okay, said Toll. Good. Toll started to read. Chapter -6, The Princess of the Magic Sea Dragons. After New Year's Day, the summer started to pass by like a slow, lazy river. That January was one of the warmest ever, which meant that everyone went to the beach all day, every day. The highlight of the holidays was Toll's encounter with the Princess of the Magic Sea Dragons. It was unheard of for anyone to actually talk to the princess, and once it had happened, it was all anyone could talk about. Everyone was extremely excited. According to the adults, Toll was the first person to be singled out for an interview with the princess pretty much ever. Most of the adults had been taken out into the deep to see the princess at least once, but she'd never spoken to anyone. People were asking what it could mean. Some were saying that Toll might have a special calling. Maybe his imagination training would focus on the sea. Also, everyone was interested in the riddle Toll had been given. Would it really save people's lives? Toll wasn't allowed to tell anyone the riddle. The princess had made that very clear. But everyone wanted to know it, just in case they could solve it, or in case they knew what the riddle was for. Toll often wondered about the experience and worried that it had only been a dream. It seemed easier that way. He couldn't wait to write about the whole thing in his journal, but he decided never to record the actual riddle. Nevertheless, so that he wouldn't forget, he went over and over it in his mind, glad to see that he hadn't forgotten the words of the riddle. The princess had made it very clear that he should not. She'd also congratulated him on swimming so well. If he hadn't been out swimming, he mightn't have met her at all. When Toll was at the Bay of Magic Sea Dragons, he spent every possible moment in the water. It was his second home, and he would miss it when he returned to Innisfree. As usual, the end of the holidays arrived way too quickly, and once again it was time for the Bye breakfast, a feast held on the last day of February to farewell everyone. The main room of the Jews' big holiday home was still decorated with silver stars for Christmas, seashells for New Year's Day, and exotic coloured seaweed for the sheer joy of summer. Zizi, the Matrix's eccentric robot, had also covered the long breakfast table with bunches of fiery bush flowers, tiny purple pebbles, peculiar to the bay, and piles of gum nuts. She had some help from Tamsin, a student imaginician who'd been given free board by the Jews in exchange for her excellent cooking. That summer she'd excelled herself. Her Bye breakfast was magnificent. There were mangoes and pawpaws, bananas baked in coconut milk, apple pastries, steaming hot fruit buns, pancakes with lemon juice and ice cream, and tiny boa berries harvested from the sea. After everyone had eaten, it was time to make the farewell toasts. As Nell served drinks, she sighed, Oh, it's been wonderful. Why does it have to end? Never mind, said Xavier. One day some of our children will be time wizards and they'll take us on trips. We'll be able to enjoy all of this over and over again. As many times as we like, added Jax. Yes, said Asmax, And if any of our days are really bad when we live them first time around, we'll just skip them when we travel back. Selective reliving, said Nell. Brilliant. What more could you want? Asked Solo. Here's to selective reliving, said Bilgew, cheerfully raising his glass of orange juice. And may there always be imaginations, wizards, and ice witches, said Asmax. What exactly is an imagination? Asked Escher. They're like ice witches, said Nell, but their magic comes almost entirely from their imagination. What about Imagineers? Asked Jax. They focus more on the physics of enchantment, said Asmax, but there is still a lot of magic involved. Everyone nodded. Both love the realm of possibility, said Bill. Very much, said Nell. Sounds like me, said Jax. I'm studying the physics of enchantment, but from the point of view of an but from the viewpoint of an ice witch. Escher grinned. I'm an ice witch too, he said, but not driven by imagination. Actually, I like the idea of time travel. Xavier nodded and gave his son a high five. Great idea. Here's to time travel, imagination, and magic, however it happens. Everyone cheered as they drank another toast. Can we toast the princess of the magic sea dragons? Asked Toll, raising his glass. We can, said Xavier. Here's to the princess of the magic sea dragons. May she live forever. Everyone raised their glasses again, clinking them together with glee. I have a toast, said Asmax. I'd like to drink to the indigo sea. Xavier gazed across the room at his wife and tilted his glass towards her. One of the Jews had travelled from Dragolan to the islands of time before Asmax was born. There she'd created the indigo sea, full of healing properties. Elsie Dew was Bill Dew's great-grandmother and an amazing imagination. As a child, Asmax had suffered from a rare disease. Without her visit to Elsie's healing sea on the islands of time, she would have died when she was very young. Asmax would forever be grateful to Elsie Dew and was very excited to have finally met her family. Without Elsie, Asmax wouldn't have survived to give birth to Jaxophone. Escher was born to Xavier and another person before he met Asmax, and his mother is part of a different story. Here's to the indigo sea, said Asmax, and to Elsie, everyone cheered. May her creation always keep our seas creatures safe, said Asmax in a quiet voice, and continue to heal the multitudes. I've just changed that bit. Here's to the indigo sea, said Asmax, and to Elsie. Everyone cheered. May her creation continue to heal the multitudes, said Asmax. After everyone had finished making toasts, Nell asked, Is anyone going to have one last frolic with the dwarf dolphins, or are we going to stay indoors all day? I thought you'd never ask, hooted Toll. Yes, 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 squealed Tilly with delight. Are you coming, Jaxophone? Asked Escher. Of course, and unlike many, I'm all set to go, said Jax, lifting her t-shirt to reveal her swimming costume. Tilly stared in horror at the evidence of Jax's forethought. Jax, Escher, Toll, and Solo had been ready for the beach since that morning. While they waited for everyone else to find their towels and make their last-minute preparations, Zizi slid alongside Jax and whispered in her humming electronic voice, Can I come to the beach too, for a very special treat? Oh, Zizi, laughed Jax, you'd rust, my darling, but I promise to bring you back an underwater video of the dwarf dolphins. Will that do? It will, whispered Zizi in her strange electronic voice. I will help clear the dishes. Thank you, said Jax, smiling as she watched the precise way Zizi went about her work. She was one of Jax's best friends, even though she was a robot. Well, Zizi and Jax's pet penguin, Paladin. But Paladin had stayed at home in the cold. He loathed warm weather. Jax had been sending him electronic postcards throughout the holiday. Overall, Jax was very studious, loved reading, and was wild about inventing things. Having a know-all robot and a very wise penguin as best friends was most useful. Jax sometimes wished she had more people of her own age as friends, and as she stared at her mother, she felt a twinge of envy. Asmax and Nell had become such good friends over the summer. Jax hoped that one day she too would find a close friend.